I've had this opportunity to come and present with you all today. My name is Phil. I am as Rolf said, I am the chaplain fellow here at the West Haven VA, and it's been a pleasure to be able to take this fellowship and take an idea that I've had previous to this fellowship starting and implementing it into this place and seeing it grow and bud. I can relate with you, Hannah, in your presentation about having this idea and then building the plane as it flies, making those adjustments and those course corrections in vivo in order to, kind of bring what you've imagined into life, or at least that's how it was for me. So I was connecting with your experience there. So I'm going to be rocking and rolling, moving through this. I'm going to ask that everyone finds a reaction icon that they can choose from that they like. I'm going to ask you to be using that in a few of the slides here just coming up. So go ahead and just take a second to do that as I begin. So let's go ahead and start. This is a quick poll. It's gonna be super easy and fun and lighthearted. So right now, just to double check everyone has access to that reaction icon, go ahead and let's flood the reaction screen right now with your reactions right now. Let's just see it blow up the chat. Perfect. Very good. You know that it's all working now. So what we're going to do is just a quick poll. Making a reaction if you have ever taken a group fitness class before in your life. Seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going down. More coming up. 6, 7, 8. Nice. All right. So just about half, if not just a little bit more. Now, second question, do a reaction if you have ever worked out in your life. If you've ever exercised at least once, make a reaction. Seeing a few thumbs up. Good, all right. Seeing some hearts and some flowers. Yeah, okay, so laughing sign, nice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and assume that that leading question is we should be close to 100%. If with your experience with these physical fitness groups, I want you to now take that mindset and put it on, because that's sort of where we're headed in this idea about the spiritual fitness protocol. Thank you all for your participation. Here's the next slide. So let me tell you a little bit more about me and where I'm coming from. So before entering seminary and before I became a chaplain, I was a teacher. I taught in 5th and 6th grade, middle school and high school. And before I was working as a teacher, I was a coach teaching gymnastics. And then after the pandemic, I started coaching yoga. And a big part of my life is that I'm in the Air Force Reserves as a chaplain. That's me standing on the wings of a C-130 in Ramstein, Germany on my tour from 2 years ago. And spiritual fitness as a group came to me as in responding to an observed need. And so by applying my background in both my appreciation and practice of spirituality and physical fitness, my teaching background, my coaching background, and my current vocation as a chaplain, I saw this need and I thought I could provide a solution to it. And so that solution comes from spiritual fitness as a agenda of the Department of Defense. So in 2010, a study for the Army by one of the Army generals released this understanding of spiritual fitness, saying that it would mean fitness of the, quote, spirit or soul, especially from a religious aspect. Going further in 2011, the definition was then more clarified, saying we define spiritual fitness in terms of the capacity to identify one's core belief and what provides life a sense of purpose and direction. B, access resources that facilitate the realization of the core self and strivings, especially in times of struggle. And C, experience a sense of connectedness with diverse people and the world. So we're seeing this like trifold meaning of spiritual fitness, that ability to identify what gives you meaning and purpose, have access to those resources that help you have self-realization, and then experience connectedness. So it's sort of a meaning, purpose, and belonging activation with spiritual fitness. And then the Air Force, 2 years after that, did an extensive, exhaustive study about spiritual fitness and defined it then as its own level as the ability to adhere to beliefs, principles, or values needed to persevere and prevail in accomplishing missions. So, since I'm in the reserves currently and we're working with veterans who were obviously in the military, I figured no better place than to try to create a group that addresses this idea of someone's spiritual fitness and helping them get access to those resources and identify those core beliefs. So I take my experience of spirituality and my love for spiritual fitness, and that's where we get, well, bam, the spiritual fitness protocol. And for all those anime or Dragon Ball Z fans out there, I see you. If you know, you know. So what is it? It's 4 independent sessions based on gratitude, love, forgiveness, and peace. They last about 45 minutes, and there's an asterisk there because this group can be modified to be as short as it needs to be, or it can even go longer based on what the group's spiritual fitness level might be. It supports both open and closed cohorts so that we can have a group that is either going to start and finish together with no one coming in. So they build their trust and they build that camaraderie as one, such as in a unit setting, whether that unit be an actual military unit or an inpatient unit. And open so that places where, like where I'm at, where it's the outpatient center. People can come in and go, and there's no issue of whether they show up at lesson 1, lesson 3, lesson 2, or 4. One can be enough. It's accessible to all levels of spiritual fitness. That pursuit of equity and outcomes in spiritual care is something I care about deeply. And that's what this was all designed, is to increase well-being through spiritual activity. Now, how did we measure success? I got approval to do a quality improvement project where I was provided a survey before and after to have them, the participants, rate themselves based on how they felt beforehand using a screener. And then they looked at their scores afterwards, and then they gave themselves a second score. This is the kind of closest I could get to quantitative research since it's something that's missing broadly in spiritual care research. So, sort of like a sub goal of mine in creating this group was like, hey, let's see if I can learn what quantitative research looks like. So, this is definitely more of a pilot study than it is anything else. Here's the survey that I used. You see that there's 12 questions. They marked their answers 0 through 4. Then I gave it back to them at the end of the group, and then they said if they made any changes. And I cataloged those changes and I put it all in a spreadsheet. So the key words that I was told that it's important to say here for all of my friends here that are much smarter than I am is this is the pilot study preliminary results. All right, this ain't the gospel truth, y'all. This is just something that I've put together from a small data set as a proof of concept to illustrate what this possibly might present in terms of its efficacy. But this is not publishable data. So the t-test that I ran for folks who may not be familiar with it, because I certainly wasn't before I started this project, the t-test is simply is a statistical analysis to study if there is any significance going on between two data sets of numbers. And if the p-value, which you see is highlighted in green, is below 0.05, then it could be said that the difference between those numbers could be significant. And then that would say, okay, then what happened between numbers 1 and numbers 2 could be considered a positive, significant effect. Therefore, possibly my intervention showed a significant change. I only had 15 people though, so it's a small number, but at least shows that it could be there. The two tail looks to the left end of the spectrum, so the one tail looks to the right end of the spectrum going forward. The left just sort of adds more variables. So the t-test basically is a study to show whether or not something might be going on in between two numbers. And from 15 people who took their surveys, it seemed like it possibly could be. The regression test, however, just goes and projects where the numbers might go going forward. So if you look at a graph and you were to say what would happen next, you would use the regression test to figure that out. And based off of those 15 respondents that I had, those values that are of significance, if they're below 0.05, it's what I'm looking for. You'll see here marked in green 0.0039. So very, very close to zero, which is the number that you're shooting for. So perhaps if I got more people in my study, we would be able to say that this was legit. But for the pilot preliminary data itself, it just shows that people who took it generally reported that they felt better afterwards. That was good to see because it seemed like that from my observations of the group. So that's the whole project itself, but I really wanted to spend the remainder of my time just letting you figure out what the heck spiritual fitness even is. I can talk all about it abstractly, but the best way to do it is just to show it to you and let you experience it yourself. And then you can form your own opinion about whether or not this is something that you could see working going forward. So I'm applying the group exercise format to spiritual care. So put back that group fitness class mindset and let's go for a ride. So imagine that you're in a small group setting like a gym, and the coach comes in and says, all right, everyone, choose a weight where you can do 10 reps 3 times. You're sitting there in the gym and you look around and you assess your physical fitness level. You look for a weight that corresponds to what you know that you think you can do based off the activity. And you select that weight and then you do the exercise. So everyone does that here in this example. You'll see that everyone has different weights. Some people might have the same, but in general, everyone chooses a weight according to their needs. But they all do the same thing. They do 10 reps 3 times. And because it was individualized, then you can predict that the outcome would be equitable because people are choosing based on their own needs versus everyone using the same weight and then not being able to complete it or it being too easy for them. So now we apply it to spiritual care. So the chaplain says, select a passage of spiritual content about hope and read it 5 times. So rather than weights, we have here our spiritual fitness levels, which can fit within organized religions, or they can be in the spiritual but not religious domain, or people who are simply searching. And they would then draw upon their own spiritual fitness to select that passage about hope and read it 5 times. And it would all be happening simultaneously. So one person is reading Psalm 19, 1 through 6. Another person at the same time is reading John 3:16, a little bit shorter and from a different part of Scripture. Someone is reading the Surah al-Baraka, Ayat 45. Another person chooses something from their favorite Instagrammer because that's what gives them hope. Someone else chooses their favorite poem because that's what gives them hope. And at this place, you see 5 competing spiritual worldviews all coexisting and functioning at the same time to achieve the desired outcome of improved spiritual fitness. So if we were to imagine that we are all in a spin class together, we all get on our bikes, and the bikes that we're using represents our spiritual fitness level. One person might be the Olympic athlete, and the other person may never have stepped on a spin cycle before in their life. Yet we can do it together and have a great time as well. So this is what the lesson plan looks like. We start off with a warm-up that's typically about 5 minutes with these skills of reading, listening, and focusing. The workout of the day lasts about 20 minutes using the skills of give, read, write, speak, listen, and focus, these actions. And then the cool down is a little bit less than 5 minutes, and it's about focusing. The cool down and warm up stay the same just to provide some consistency across groups, and the workout of the day changes. But as I said it from the beginning, we can make this as long or as short as we need. You could simply just do the warm up and just get 5 minutes of spiritual fitness. Some time is better than no time. So here we go. Oh, who's excited for some audience participation? I know you all are. You're going to need a piece of paper and something to write with. Once you have that, I'm going to ask that you throw your reaction icon so that I know that I can keep going forward. And if your camera's off, you can still react, at least to let me know that you heard me and we don't wait on you. Get that writing utensil and get that piece of paper ready to go. Good stuff. You've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time's up. Great. So here's what you're going to be doing with your piece of paper and pen. Your job, your challenge, should you choose to accept, is to write down as much as you can about gratitude. People, places, things, past, present, future, specific, general, names, whatever, anything and everything that allows you to feel gratitude, that feeling of thankfulness. And if you want to involve your spirituality towards your higher power, uh, more power to you, okay? I'm going to put this timer on, and during the writing section, you're going to list these things out point by point, and you're going to rest for 10 seconds. And if we were doing this normally, we would do this for 4 minutes, but we're only going to do this 3 times, just so I don't take up the rest of my time doing this. Here we go. Starting in less than 10 seconds, you'll be writing. First segment, 3, 2, 1, begin writing. Jot down those gratitude statements. 10 seconds left. Push yourself. Come on, you can do it. Stop writing, take a break, shake out your wrist, big breath in, and get ready for your second set coming up to keep those gratitude statements coming. And go. Nice job. You can do it. Keep pushing. And stop. All right, second break, third and final set coming up. Push yourself to get all those gratitude statements out there. 3, 2, 1, go. And stop. Nice job, y'all. Everyone take a big breath in and breathe out. Shake out that wrist. If you got a hand cramp, let us know, unless you can't because you've got a hand cramp. And when you have a moment and you've caught your breath, add up your total and throw that number in the chat. And let's start celebrating to see what those numbers are like. Add up the amount of gratitude statements you wrote and type that number in the chat. Ooh, 12, Allison, I see you. Let's go. 13, Karen. Yeah. Uh-oh, Devin coming in with 20. Jerry Wells with 7, loving it. Yes, that's so wonderful. Pushing yourself. 12 with Ralph. Nicely done. Ooh, 10, Mary. 14. That's awesome. Yes, 10, Beth. Oh my gosh, the numbers are rolling in. Look at all this. If I wasn't a chaplain, I'd try to add all this up, but that just might break me. I only know how to count to 3. Yeah, all right. No, hey, there's no shame in that, Mary Brown. 5 is still great. Anyone who wrote more than 1, you're a winner. Congratulations. At least you've got one thing to be grateful for. That's great. So in my spiritual fitness class, we would do this once. We would talk about the gratitude through another activity. And then I have the veterans do the Tabata again. And 9 times out of 9, people write more gratitude statements after they've thought about it, no duh. And they experience how just a little bit of reflection can help open up their mind to see that there are more things that they are grateful for than what they walked in with. And immediately they feel like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, that's spirituality. That's how it works. So it's a cool opportunity to practice and present. That took 4 minutes if we do the whole thing. 4 minutes to practice a little bit of gratitude. Who doesn't have that much time? We all do. So, additional exercises in my group as I'm finishing up here is you can do take a lap where you walk around and you focus and pray and meditate, or you use a paper labyrinth to go around. The gratitude superset is what I just told you. You do the Tabata twice. The music mountain climber, where you listen to progressively longer amounts of reflective music and practicing prayer, meditation, and then reading a selection piece. The Ho'oponopono exercise is a Hawaiian forgiveness ritual in which you repeat a phrase, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, multiple times. And we use this to address our higher power and the people or people who have hurt us or we have hurt. The full spirit workout is a writing and reading exercise. The imam is a every minute on the minute, you speak out loud a favorite phrase from a selected text to bring those thoughts into action. And then the I acknowledge you are hurt is a reflective practice of the group saying this phrase as people lament some of the pains that they are holding on to. So put all this together, you have these activities, and you think about what I was saying about the workout of the day with the warm up, the cool down. You can put it into the military environment because the resources are the people who attend themselves. Bring it into religious organizations, and the resources become based off of that one religion, so it can be a homogenous group. Take it to the hospital and to the inpatient or outpatient settings to meet people where they're at to give these skills. For patient populations, for people populations, make it into group-based settings. Wonderful for residential programs who may not have access to spiritual care outside of just meeting one-on-one with a chaplain. Doesn't matter if you're a veteran or a civilian, this functions well with all people, whether you're a patient or not a patient. I've done this in both churches, in the military, and here now. And the biggest thing is that if you look at the populations of religious diversity within the military as we speak, SBNRs, spiritual but not religious people, are on the rise as organized religion declines. So to have more advanced thinking about the future of who our veterans are going to be, something like this, a spiritual fitness program that does not require one to have a religious background to practice their spirituality, serves well for this future and current population of people. And so wherever I go, I'm starting to think more about this subset of our population as it grows and as their needs remain either unnoticed or unmet. And I'm hoping to advocate for raising awareness for them. So let's put it all together. I'll just read this out loud to you and you can just muzzle it over. The spiritual fitness protocol is a manualized 4 independent spiritual care sessions designed around individualized treatment through activity-based interventions. Yes, I wrote individualized twice. Preliminary results of the pilot study indicate positive outcomes. The protocol can be ported and modified to meet the needs of the desired population, and I think it solves the problem of providing equitable spiritual care in diverse group settings. I started off with spiritual fitness because I find myself to be someone who is spiritual and fit, and I wanted to bring them together. I'm going to be in the military serving active duty one day, and I'm thinking about them because they are our future veterans. And as someone who's both a practitioner and a provider of spiritual care, I really believe in the power of what Nike says, just do it. Thank you. Any questions? Feel free to put your questions in the chat if you'd like. You can answer, and I'll be happy to answer them. I would also just like to give a big thanks to all the people who helped get me here where I'm at. If it wasn't for my cohort fellows, Devin, Nadi, Avery, Luai, those people really helped kind of push in. And Ann Clee and Jay Cook, who are both my supervisors, have provided a lot of care and help to get this where I'm at. And if it wasn't for sort of the support that I was provided in my fellowship, this product wouldn't be here. So this is what you're seeing is I'm standing up on the shoulders of mountains here, and I'm only here by the aid and assistance of others. So also big round of applause to all the great people who helped me out.